Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the second virtual lecture for this course. I'm going to show my screen right now, and we are recording this. And the good thing about changing over to GoToWebinar is that I'll be able to use your registration as your attendance, as well as see who is active and participating throughout the whole time. So you are on listen-only mode, so unfortunately the only interaction that we can have during this time together is by raising your hand or adding a question in the chat bar. I think by the time by the time the 15 days are over, we're all going to be experts when it comes to GoToWebinars and how to use it effectively. So without further ado, I'm going to show my screen. And hopefully at this point, for technology to set in, you are now looking at the calendar portion of the syllabus. So up to date, to kind of do a little recap for this specific course of the recruitment and employment interview. Last week, we went through an introduction and lay of the land of the syllabus. And at that point, you were introduced to APA Solutions Career Reform and Be Your Own Hero. The majority of you have taken the online assessment through the link that was given to you on the syllabus. And then from there, once you completed the assessment, you were able to go to Be Your Own Hero's website and make your $85 donation, which goes to the cost of the assessment, and proceeds go to Be Your Own Hero to help high school students get this type of coaching within the high school settings, be it private and or public. And then everyone was to start the online career reform course, which is the link that you see there, Start Career Reform Online Support Program. And because we skipped yesterday and moved the call to today, everyone should be moving forward and well ahead in Human Resources Part 1 and Part 2. So today's lecture is about continuing and understanding the DISC language through interpersonal communication, understanding communication styles as it relates to the DISC, and really understanding what your workplace is. After the presentation, we're going to go ahead and at the end, we're going to recap on what is due to make sure that everyone is on the same page. If you took your assessment between the hours of 2 and 7, I will have to forward your assessment to you at the end of this call because I didn't get a chance to forward anyone's assessment after they took it between the hours of 2 and 7 today. So you'll have to be on a little bit of a standby mode. So I'm going to check the chat bar now and see if there's any questions in regards to the syllabus and my recap at this point. And if there's not any questions, we're going to go ahead and move on to the presentation. Okay, I think we're looking good. I don't see any questions in the chat bar, nor do I see a hand that is up. Obviously, if you're experiencing technical difficulties, then please, by all means, you can text me at 716-908-4568, and I'll try to respond and multitask at the same time. And then we'll take it from there. So once again, welcome to Lecture 2. I'm going to put this in slideshow mode in the beginning. So in order for you to get ready for the employment interview, you guys are gearing up for your phone interviews in the last week of our class, as well as interviews that you're going to be conducting on your own. We're trying to, in 2018, have you as participants really understand the mindset of you own the business and the business you own is your background. You're seeing this theme through our online course and through each of this lecture because that's how important it is, because our employers are sharing with us that they're looking for individuals who take an ownership mindset as well as take accountability of not only what the future holds for them, but taking accountability of the past, their present, and their future. So the U Incorporated business model, human resource, sales and marketing, operations, technology, and finance is really spelled out very simply when you're turning it and making it about you Incorporated. So if I was to be looking at the attendees on this call and cherry pick the people who are here today, it's really, you have to think about Mitchell Incorporated, John Incorporated, Matthew Incorporated, Sophia Incorporated. You have Satchad T. Singh Incorporated. We have Jason Incorporated, Jason Howell Incorporated, Jared Friedman Incorporated, Francis Incorporated, Aaron Incorporated. And if you hear my dog in the background, that's Mocha Incorporated. Daniel Incorporated, Claudia Incorporated, Brian Incorporated, and Ashley Incorporated. So you each individually own your own business. You all have tools in your business that is going to leverage your abilities to be able to have a successful employment interview. In the U Incorporated business model, we look at human resources, which part 1 and part 2 on the online course is all about, is looking at you from the inside. What makes you you? What makes you remarkable? Everybody in this class has unique characteristics, personalities, experiences, education, views, motivators that makes an individual very unique. And because of technology and because the way we work today, the accessibility of gaining inside scoop of what makes a person them, what makes you you, we are able to measure and really assess it and bring it to the forefront and really see it in black and white. Operations is how you're running your business strategically. Are you organized? What have you done? Did you successfully make good decisions in your background that you can demonstrate to an employer? Sales and marketing, as you know, how to best market yourself, how to best take your one-dimensional piece of paper called your resume, really showcase your expertise in 20 seconds to allow an individual to want to call you. And then that extends to your verbal communication, how you're interviewing, and then even your online presence. The finance aspect of You Incorporated is really understanding what your business model is worth. We don't spend a lot of time in our lectures, but there is a good section on the online course really helping you understand and where you can find the worth of your business through salary.com or the government-run website, the ONET, which you're finding from your assessment when you look at the occupations that are best suited for you. Based on your behavioral style, you're going to be able to research those occupations to really drill it down to not only what the duties and responsibilities are for that specific occupation, but what is one to expect to make in that occupation. You can drill it down to geography. So if you're looking for a specific position in Buffalo, New York, you can drill it down to Buffalo, New York, or if you're in Long Island. And then technology piece is what do you need from a technology standpoint to enhance the worth of your business? Obviously, some of you are either traditional students and in the age group where you grew up with technology, but I may have some more mature students, non-traditional students here on the call today. And you know what? You have to have a little bit more, you have to gain a little bit more of a competitive advantage to prove to an employer, if you're 45 years or older, that you understand technology and that you are not afraid of technology. So that's when wrapping up the technology piece. So when you had an opportunity to listen to the webinar, you're on the online course, you're starting to get the fundamental understanding of what this assessment is sharing with you. The assessment, which is the DISC assessment, that is how you do the things you do, is an observable language. It's a neutral language. There's no right, there's no wrong. And it is a language that is universal. So I can use this here in the United States, and I can go overseas and also use this observable language to help me not only understand myself or others, but really enhance the communication and the self-awareness piece that is so critical to the employment world today. So I put this slide up there for a little bit of review to really better understand dominance, influence, steady, and compliance. So the dominance factor is how you handle problems and challenges. So when you're looking at your individual graphs, just like the webinar that you listened to, people are made up of 1, 2, or 3 behavioral dimensions above the energy line, which is that 50% mark. So if you're a high D, 50 to 100%, you are going to be able to handle those problems and challenges dead on. You're going to gravitate towards them. You're going to love them. And then moving forward on influence, you're looking at having the ability to influence people to see your point of view, and you enjoy it, and you're going to do it with enthusiasm. You're going to be inspiring, charismatic, and social from there. So the S factor, how you handle the pace of the environment. If you're 50% to 100% S, you're going to want a slower pace of environment. You're going to really need to finish a project from conception to completion. You're going to be very steady, patient, consistent. These individuals are the Mother Teresas of the world. They're natural team players, and they're the observers of the world. Compliance, these individuals are 50 to 100% compliance people. They enjoy rules and procedures set forth by others. They need them. They gravitate towards them. They're analytical. They're detailed-oriented. I always refer to the airport scenario that you may have heard on the previous webinar, that give me your, carrying the passports, but they're like, give me your plan and I will work your plan. Now, every time you start scaling down, you may not need rules and policies and procedures. So how you do the things you do is totally important to when you're selecting an occupation, and more importantly, when you're looking at communicating to someone on an interview. Because this is an observable language, you should be able, once you understand yourself, really start looking at the characteristics of observing and working with a human resource professional. And they're interviewing me, and I'm watching from a body language standpoint who they are. You're going to be able to anticipate the type of communication style you should be using in that interview approach. So as I move on, I just want to make sure that when you are trying to understand and apply and recognize, behavioral styles may vary widely, but what we know to be true is that your highest dimension and your lowest dimension is your most observable. So we will see the D come out, we will see the I come out. So just be cognizant of that. It is important not to read just one signal and jump to conclusions, because it really is how your whole behavioral chart is talking to each other and what that all means. One of the four factors that you have could be an Achilles heel. So for example, if you're a natural D&I, maybe the interview process is not going to be as challenging for someone who's an S and C, because in S and C, you're going to be observant, you're going to be a little bit more quieter, you're going to need to see what the lay of the land is. You may not smile as readily as expected a D&I would, so you have to be cognizant of that. But then the Achilles heel for a D&I, you know, will you have patience enough to go through the interview process? Will you talk too much when you're in the interview process? So you have to look at your greatest strengths, but you also have to look at the opportunities that you should be aware of when someone is observing you. So the last bullet here is, if others feel a sense of rapport has been established, they're more likely want to interact and spend time with you. So utilizing this tool to establish that rapport behind the scenes could be a deal maker or deal breaker within the interview process that you're going to be doing. So here's, we've seen this wheel before. This is the insight wheel. Everyone was plotted. Now to re-echo based on the webinar that you already listened to, you've got to remember those numbers don't mean anything. They correlate to a manual report, but it also is a great way to help us pinpoint where we are compared to the other behavioral styles. So I'm bringing this slide to your attention because as you're observing human resource managers, as you're or maybe speaking to an engineering person or speaking to a sales and marketing manager, you really kind of want to pay attention to these descriptors, because that's going to help you curtail your conversations with them and understand what's important to them. So, value to the team. This is what your behavioral style will bring to the team. So some buzzwords. So if you're a C, you like planning, you connect the plan, you see the plan. You can move the plan from one spot to the next as long as you understand the plan. The coordinator likes to be the implementer and the fine-tuning the plan. The S's are implementing the And then the relators are promoting the plan, implementing the ideas, promoting the ideas. And then the persuader that you see as we go up and our D's rising, they're getting the plan done through other people. And then I actually can't see it because my bar is in the way here. So let me just move this to the side a little bit. And then the D wants to see the result of the plan that was created. So I thought this was very interesting for you guys to see as you look at adjectives of how, what their place is in the workplace and the value of each dimension is important. That's what's critical to this. What's interesting about the employment world today is that back in the day when we were in such simpler times, we could work in an organization, there was a lot more silos happening in those organizations, where the accounting people could just stay in accounting, crunch their numbers, do a great job, and go home for the day. Salespeople the same. But now when you learned about, as you learned on the other webinar, the front of the house and the back of the house, we're now expecting in today's work world, where everyone's working harder, smarter, faster, and better, we're expecting to do a lot more with less. That we're expecting the D's and the I's to cross over to S's and C's and vice versa. And that can be very, very difficult. And unless you have this higher level self-awareness and understand your place in the workplace, then is when you can start making everlasting changes and having opportunities for development that if I have to be a D and I, but now I'm forced to analyze and crunch the numbers, at least I know what type of training and development I may need to continue to receive in order to be overall successful and a well-rounded person in an organization. Let me just move my sidebar again. Just give me a minute. And we're going to go to the next slide. All right. So here's a question, and this is an in-class assignment that I want you to pay attention to. And I would like everyone on this call, and if you're not on this call and you're listening to this of the recording of this, take a look at what tendencies. Hold on one second so I can read this. What tendencies do other people exhibit that you wish were easier for you to exhibit, and why? And then how would this affect your performance on the job or in your interview? So if you could copy this down, shorthand, longhand, or whatever you need to do, you'll obviously get this in the recording. I want you to answer these questions. And I would like you to email that to me so I can see if you're really capturing this information. Because if you don't do this exercise now, you won't know what's going to hurt you come time to conduct a successful interview for a new position or a promotion. So we just did a recap in regards to human resources, getting a little bit more information in regards to your behavioral style, to how that behavioral style is and the value of the team. Now, what I think is very interesting, so you can kind of get a better sense about the business model of You Incorporated and how it relates to occupations, and then how it possibly relates to occupations that are suited for you. We have millennials in the workplace. We have 4 generations, first time ever in the employment history, all working together and trying to move together for the benefit of themselves and the benefit of the organization. Today, there are so many different types of jobs, there's different types of peoples, and yes, there are so many different types of culture. And hopefully through this presentation, we're getting closer to understanding your place in the workplace so then you can interview appropriately for the role that is best suited for you. So we did an experiment, and this experiment goes back now a couple years, about 2015, that we took an inside look of Facebook at the time. And I'm sure by now everybody on this webinar understands and knows Facebook as being that social mechanism that allows you to connect with friends, family, companies, organizations. And when you look at the inside scoop of what's happening at Facebook and the multitude of different roles that they have, let me just click on my screen here. All right, so Facebook is hiring. What kind of jobs are out there? When we made the phone call from the experiment that we did at that time, so we're talking, what, almost 3 years ago, that at that time they were comfortable admitting that they had 531 jobs available. We have a person in our career coaching coach today that actually is on their second interview with Facebook. And for him, it was very disconcerting. And thank God he was going through career reform coaching, that he submitted his resume for a specific position. But when they called to do a pre-screen, they said, you know what, we're just interviewing you. We're not interviewing you for a specific position. So that threw this gentleman off in a tizzy, be like, how do I prepare for an interview when I'm not really preparing for a specific position? But Facebook has that luxury. They hire talent and then assign the talent to the position. Not a lot of companies do that. A lot of companies are still a little bit old school where they have position, they have person, putting a square hole in a square peg. But in this situation, Facebook will first and foremost hire the best talent and then see where they need them and even create a job for them. So back to the experiment, I encourage all of you guys to go to facebook.com careers to see maybe there's a place for you in their environment. But the reason why we're bringing this up, because when you look at the business model of a company and the business model of you incorporated, you can see where all the hot positions are, and then what can it mean to your future as it relates to the type of positions you might want to consider. I realize that many of you are in a major, communication major, with emphasis maybe in sales and marketing, or maybe emphasis in human resources, or emphasis in mathematics, or maybe we have some human services people on this call. I will know that once you hand in your job description on the 12th, what type of career direction you're thinking of. But for today's purposes, hopefully you can relate to some of these positions, and if not, throw me a text or throw me an email if you need clarity on what these positions mean. I can definitely help you for that. So okay. Okay, so I just got a text from Danielle. Hello, Danielle. I just want to make sure it wasn't that you guys couldn't hear me. So here are the Facebook opportunities. We have 91 positions in software engineering. We have 27 positions in legal, and then so forth and so forth. So let's go where communication students can get a job. Believe it or not, your degree can fit nicely in any of these roles, but primarily, probably in communication and public policy, product management, people and recruiting, sales and business development, online operations, and marketing. Now, I'm not saying that you can't accept positions in the other departments, but you just want to make sure that you have the technical skills and the soft skills to fit in those departments, such as legal, finance, facilities, and administrative. So yes, your degree could work very nicely in those departments as well, but I'm sure if you're working in the legal department, you would need to kind of start garnering some legal background. So I thought it was very interesting in regards to how these positions are laying up and where they're at and how many are needed. So Facebook business model. This is just a graph so you can see where the bulk of positions are. So if anyone's on a straight career path for sales and marketing, 45% of their need is coming from there, and then another is coming from technology. There's a nice recipe for success. If you have a gift of gab and you have the ability to code, then you just set your own ticket, especially in the world that we live in. So here's another way to look at it when it looks at you incorporated in the business model of where the individuals are coming from. People recruiting and human resources, and then you have sales and marketing. You have all those departments working in sales and marketing. You have operations, you have finance, and then you have the software and engineering people. Believe it or not, these directly relate to the U Incorporated business model. Every single one of these 531 career opportunities across the world fits perfectly in the U Incorporated categories. After connecting the Facebook jobs to the departments of You Incorporated, we are able to see some of the hot career fields. But it's just not Facebook. That is just a great sample of it. This is a cross-section of what jobs are on the rise throughout America, New York, and here even in Buffalo. So before you start sending out college applications or your actual interview questions, the key thing is you have to do your research. You can't do a shotgun approach anymore. You can't just develop a resume and hope they come. You really have to spend some time. Okay, now that I'm getting a better sense of who I am as a person, now that I'm getting a better sense of occupations that are better for my behavioral style, now I'm going to start doing some research of where I can apply my behavioral style and what industries makes me happy. Do I see myself in hospitality tourism? Do I see myself in law enforcement? If I'm in law enforcement, what aspect of law enforcement? I understand there's an individual who's in corrections right now, and really, what does that look like? Or maybe not corrections, maybe a different branch of law enforcement. But am I going to stay there? Am I going to get promoted in there? And what does that mean for me to be able to do that? Do I want to maybe spend some time? Although I'm a communication major, I do like the outdoors. So I'm going to look at natural resources. I'm going to look at organic farming. I'm going to look at agriculture. Or you know what, I just want to stick with health sciences because, I'm going to stay in Buffalo and the medical corridor is where it's really booming. Or you know what, I'm an entrepreneur. I want to start my own business. But in order for me to do that, maybe I'm going to learn from XYZ company in order to get myself there. So that's why you have 2 chapters on the online course in human resources, because employers want you to spend more time understanding who you are, where you're going, because they don't have the time anymore to figure it out. When we were working and living in simpler times, you had much larger organizations. If some of you are familiar with IBM, they had training programs. They would take a fresh out of school individual and groom them and train them. There's not a lot of organizations that do that. Who does still though? Wegmans. Wegmans still does a very nice job plucking individuals who are in education and having them work every department within Wegmans only to get promoted within corporate or to run their own store somewhere else. There are pockets of them, but the world today is made up of small and medium-sized companies, and they just don't have those resources like the big companies do. So then therefore, that's why they say they want to plug and play. But that plug and play translated is they want someone who understands and gets it and spends more time on their job search, more time on preparing for the interview, more time in themselves before they even start thinking about working for them. So this does conclude our quick lecture in regards to today's session. So I think it's important for you to tune up and listen to what is due now. So Unit 2 assignment is due on January 12th, which is this Friday. So this is where I want to see an expansion of your understanding of observing individuals within your circle of influence. So if you go to the syllabus, you'll see how it needs to be written. It should be like 1 page long, no more than 3, in regards to observing 3 face-to-face interactions. So these face-to-face interactions can be while you're waiting in line going to the movies. It can be while you're in class and observing teacher versus student, wherever. It can be between your mother and your father. It can be between your 2 roommates. But they have to be between 2 men, 2 women, and then a man and a woman. And what you're doing is you're looking for similarities and differences in verbal and nonverbal communication. You have to identify which elements, gender, age, race, or culture, you believe most influence this interaction, and then put your knowledge of the DISC language to the test. I want you to tell me what you're observing, what you believe their behaviors are. And then go back to your assessment and use the same descriptors that they're describing, the D, the I, the S, in order to complete the assignment. So for example, I am observing that the male in this scenario is a very high D because he seems very demanding. He seems like his emotions is maybe a little angry. And then but also he's enthusiastic at the same time, so maybe he has an I in him. And then vice versa, if you're observing an S or a C, tell me the characteristics you're seeing, describe their behavior, and then take it from there. Then we have part two part two of Unit 4. I should actually have typed that on there. But now I'm looking to find a job position for which you would hypothetically be interested in and applying within the next 0 to 2 years. It says print out a copy and send it to me, but I just need you to email it to me with a short description of why you chose it. Because the reason why I'm having you write out the short description of why you chose the position, because then it helps you start preparing you to the tell me about yourself question that still to this day, it started in 2005, they still ask that question, tell me about yourself. And that is probably if you do it right, that question can be utilized the whole the response to that question can be utilized through your whole interview by connecting the dots of why are you here, how can you help them, and then take it from there. So that's due this Friday as well. Then tomorrow's lecture has been moved. It's supposed to be 6 o'clock, but I got a work commitment that got changed. So now I moved the lecture to 7 p.m. and I get it. I'm changing the schedule on you, so if you can't change as readily because of this late notice, I get it. I'll just send you the recording. Just let me know. And then that lecture is about the recruitment interview. So we spent a lot of time last week and this week and the online course talking about you, but I have to switch gears on you. I really got to put you in the role of what it's like to be an employer, and that's what that lecture is. So that does conclude our webinar for today. I can't do two things at once, so let me see if there was any questions as this has been going on. Has anyone chatted with me? I don't see anything. I don't see any hands raised. There was a little question from Jared. Jared, I know you have a question. Let's see here. Can you go back to the last slide? Sure. And then what was the in-class question again? You got it, guys. Hold on one second. Okay, that's the last slide. Okay, so this is the last slide. Give it a few minutes if you're writing it down. And then I'm going to quickly go to the in-class assignment. That an individual wants to see again. Oh, here we go. So this is the in-class. I want you to answer these questions and then email it to me, but I'm gonna pause here for a minute because I prefer you to email it to me, not at APA Solutions, because being the new year, my emails are like a bomb has gone off and it's hard for me to catch up. So only email this specific assignment to the EDU account. Okay, appreciating others, answering the questions, in-class assignment, email it to me at Jean, F-I-L-I, @edu.com. That would be very helpful to me. And then the other assignments, you can go ahead and interview to me at APA Solutions. That'll lighten my load. Let's see if there's any other questions. Good questions, guys. All right, I don't see, oh, you know, I think Jason. Let me see what we got here, Jason. Okay, so each interaction we observe should be 2 pages. No, Jason. The whole project could be 2 pages long, not each interaction. Okay, yeah, the human resource part of the online class, what we have to submit, I looked through it and I didn't see much of any assignments. You're correct. When you're looking at human resources part 1 and part 2, there are no assignments. The only assignments that were due was, number 1, taking the assessment, paying Be Your Own Hero, and then starting the online course. That is the only thing that is truly due. So I know that each individual took the online assessment because obviously I get them emailed to me. And then I know you're starting the online course. So now what the next actual hand-in assignment is going to be is this appreciating others question. And then it's also unit 2, has to be emailed to me. And then also the, I'm drawing a blank. Oh, the paragraph of the position that you're looking to do in 0 to 2 years. John Pitton, in regards to when I want the first assignment emailed to me, be it this, the appreciating others or unit 2, it's due on the 12th, so everything should be due to me on the 12th, and we'll leave it at that. If there's a delay in someone giving it to me by the 12th, then we can talk about it, but everything's due on the 12th. Yes, I can repeat my email address. My email address is Jean, Jean, Fili, @edu.com. My APA Solutions address is jean@apasolutions.com. Okay, let's see if I missed anyone's questions. No, I think we're good. I think I'm up to date with with the questions that are at least are in the inbox. Anybody else? When do you want? Okay, we already did that one. All right, any other questions? Was this helpful? Does anyone have any comments in regards to, maybe not questions, but how is the class going? It's hard not to get immediate feedback like if I was in class. Anyone want to share how is it going? Yes, everything's due on the 12th. Anybody want to share how the class is going? Any negativity? I know it's a little discombobulating. I get it. It's kind of like what's due, what's not due. So try to follow the syllabus as much as possible. If you have any questions, gosh, I have my staple students who email me all the time to say, wait a minute, I don't understand this. And I try to get back to them as soon as I can. So if it's unclear and you need an answer, please just text me and or email me your questions and we'll work through it. Any other comments? All right. Any other questions? Going once? Going twice? We are done. We'll continue the online course, do your homework, and I will send out another webinar for tomorrow for 7, and we'll get you to be an employer. You're the hiring manager today, and we'll take it from there. So we'll talk to you and see you guys tomorrow at 7 p.m. Good night.